Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that I have plot synopsis and character bios for this issue. We're continuing our run of the New Mutants, and we're looking at the New Mutants annual number 3 from 1987 by Chris Claremont and Alan Davis. We basically have Warlock versus the Impossible Man. Now, you may be wondering why we have Fantastic Four, Hulk, Iron Man, Namor, Galactus, Captain America, and vice versa here. And you'll see inside here. So, cover is by Alan Davis and Paul Neary, as these two are wrecking New York City. And so we start out in the danger room, and it says it's our title of our story, Anything You Can Do. And we've got Cypher in setting up the danger room here, setting up a new program for the New Mutants. And we've got Chris Claremont, writer, Alan Davis, penciler, Paul Neary, rest in peace, is the inker, Tom Orzechowski, the award-winning, one of my favorite letterers of all time, Anna Senti and Jim Shooter conclude the editorial. Jim Shooter, rest in peace. We're almost done. We're concluding Chris Claremont's time in the New Mutants. So, the New Mutants are back from outer space, and they are now about to go into the danger room. And you can see here I've missed these danger room sessions. And so Cypher is going to have them fight the Avengers. They're going to use that as a way to get even after the events in New Mutants number 40 and the Avengers vs. X-Men limited series. Now, I have not covered that yet, but it is coming very, very, very soon, where I'll be covering the Avengers vs. X-Men from 1987. And so Doug does some stuff here. You can see that they are going to transform into kids or younger, more like the New Mutants. And so basically here, and I'm mostly going to narrate this issue because this issue is a filler issue, as most annuals are. So we are just basically, as I kind of explain things to you, we're going to get to enjoy Alan Davis's beautiful art. Alan Davis is one of my favorite pencilers of all time. He is in my top 25. Where that top 25 is, I don't know. Just kind of balances out, but he's one of my he's in my top 25. So here we got She-Hulk and Sunspot and Wolfsbane, Captain America, or Captain Kidd, and whatever. So again, this is a danger room session. So it doesn't really matter so much what's happening because it's just training purposes. Chris Claremont is taking a filler issue and creating even more filler. So here's Dr. Druid, who was a member of the Avengers during this time. And so the the New Mutants won, and Murad says, awful easily that they beat him. If I didn't know better, I'd say Doug rigged the exercise in our favor. So, most likely. Suddenly, there's an earthquake in the mansion, and Doug says, "Whatever's happening, Chief, it's not my fault. I've got alarms flashing all over. The system's gone crazy." So they're gonna go out and see what's going on. They think maybe the Marauders, and could be anyone. And then now they're looking up, and you can see Cannonball saying "Glory," and Sunspot saying "Madonna," and Mirage, "Oh, spirits, why us?" And magic, shadows, guards galore, Cypher far out, and Wolfsbane by the Holy Rood. And here we can see Warlock just with his mouth wide open. and we see this gigantic ship. Who could it be? Well, we saw the cover. So great splash page, by the way. Um, Alan Davis, very good. And so the Impossible Man has shown up here, and he realizes that they're not the X Men. He says, "What have you done with my friends?" And so Mirage says, "As for you, Buster, chill out and relax. We haven't done anything with the X-Men. They're just not here right now. We're the New Mutants, and this is our school too. And where do you get off making such a racket? We got sick people upstairs." And so I want you to notice something. I've done it in a couple times. A difference in lettering. Somehow this got relettered for some reason, but you can tell that this is not Orzakowski, but nobody else was credited. So Eliana pokes her, and Mirage is like, "What?" And she says, "I know our visitor. He's called the Impossible Man, and with good reason." And look at him. "Hello, Eliana," with the little love things. "Some word to the wise. Mind your manners with him, because the last time he was here, he kidnapped the mansion." That was X-Men Annual 6, maybe? I have covered that. I have a playlist. I have an X-Men playlist, a New Mutant playlist, an X Factor playlist, a Wolverine playlist, all sorts of playlists. Feel free to check them out. And so he explains, "Hey, I didn't kidnap it. I just borrowed it for the scavenger hunt." And so you can see him shifting. The Impossible Man can turn into everyone here. And so he can turn into everyone and anything. And so can Warlock. Thus, we're going to have our fight. And so he wants to challenge, and then the mutants are like, "We're not interested." And of course, the Possible Man keeps challenging them. And then, of course, he says, "You're scared," which, of course, Warlock responds to that. And now you can see they turn into different aspects of each. So now we're going to have a competition. And so the mutants are going to try and stop things here. So, and it's pretty cool because they're going to end up wearing their new costumes here. You can see the Thing and the Hulk. So, and this is the costumes that they wore in X-Men Annual number 10. And so, trying to get the people out of the way. As I mentioned, this issue is mostly going to be narration because it's filler. So, but beautiful art. And it's okay to have a kind of just a fun story here. As the two fight, you see this thing kind of blow up here. You know, not every issue has to be a masterpiece. That's the thing. But every issue should at least look good. And if it's not going to be a masterpiece, then at least have beautiful art. And I think Alan Davis hits a home run. And we're going to see him do X-Men Annual 11, I believe, as well. So now they're in Portugal, which of course is where Sunspot is from, and they're in one of the main cities, which is Rio de Janeiro. And so they're like, "Well, we need to change. We can't be dressed like this. We're going to stick out like a sore thumb." And of course, Bobby says, "I'll go get something." And so they go to the beach, and everyone is wearing, a bathing suit except Rain, who's a very modest, very conservative, and she's like, "Oh my God, have these people no shame?" So anyway, they need to find the Impossible Man and Warlock. So they're gonna use Rain to kind of find them, and so you can see that they kind of cover her so that she can turn into a wolf here, and off they go. And so now they're doing a bodybuilding, or not bodybuilding, whatever, where they show off bodies. And so now the reason they're not colored is because, or their own colors, is because they have makeup on. And so these people are mad because they were misled here. And so Impossible Man's like, I'd have won if you hadn't interfered. And so they have to keep going here. And so the New Mutants follow. Now they're in London. And so a tennis match here. The New Mutants show up. They're getting clobbered with tennis balls here. And look at the play-by-play guy, kind of just So this poor this is a Ferrari here, and there's the Forbidden Planet, which is still around. And so you can see Captain Britain and Captain America, and so they're both heroes, and they're like, we can't fight. They're both heroes. So he turns to Magneto, Professor X. He's telling the X Men to leave, or the New Mutants to leave him alone. And Rocky and Rambo, and he turns into Clubber Lang, which is played by Mr. T in the Rocky 3 movie. So Baron Strucker and Nick Fury, while the New Mutants are trying to get there. Look at this. And he crashes, and he's like, my Ferrari. We had already done that, but they hit it again. So Spider Woman and the Viper. Look at this. Nuclear weapons. Still got them. Look at that. And so Spider-Man, Green Goblin. And so it's basically anything you can do, I can do better, which is the title of the story here. And so finally Magic is like, Warlock, do you have the slightest notion of the trouble you've caused? And she's like, where's Warlock? Oh, I'm sorry, she's like, Impossible as, where's Warlock? And he's like, this is he's saying people are getting hurt, this isn't fun anymore. He turns into Thanos. He's like, I quite agree. And so he blasts them, but because he's not Thanos itself, he converts the blades into parachutes. So magic or Mirage is like, we have to stop them before they destroy this planet. And so here comes Warlock, turns into Captain Marvel to fight Thanos. They leave Russia. So now they're in London, and we see Galactus and the Watcher. He's like, Galactus can beat the Watcher, and Warlock's like, nope. And so they keep saying, does to, does not, does to, does not. And finally, the Warlock hits him. And so he turns into Godzilla, and then he ends up turning into, I don't know, something, not Voltron, although Voltron was pretty popular back then, but some kind of character from anime. And so they have an idea. They tell Warlock what the idea is, so they know how to beat him. And he's like, hey, I can turn into color, which of course he can't. And so the Impossible Man has lost, and they're all watching stuff here. And this is Eliana, I believe. She's like, grr. And so these two shake hands. And so Magneto shows up. I say Magneto to Magneto. And they're like, hey. And look at the Impossible Man turn into a share. And so he's like, how did everything go? They're like, yep, everything. We did it. And so on the TV, they have the New Mutants there. And he calls them out as they're trying to leave. And so the end. So this is Chris Claremont's last annual. Because he does leave New Mutants after 54. Louis Simonson takes over. Because he just X-Men went to twice a month. And he was writing X-Men. He was writing the Fantastic Four versus the X-Men limited series. X-Men was going into twice monthly during the summer, and then he was gonna get Excalibur going, so he had to give up New Mutants. So Louise Simonson takes over. So New Mutants Annual number 3 by Chris Claremont, Alan Davis, and Paul Neary. Like and subscribe. I do thank you so much for listening. Goodbye.